Hello and welcome back to what's probably the new and greatest idea for a channel that we ever had. We want to combine two things here. So obviously I want to start a tutorial channel when we are gonna learn together React. Practically, to give you a little bit of background, I am a 10 years veteran in developing iOS mobile apps and learning React and all that part of JavaScript adventure with React Native and all that. And a lot of people are coming to me, hey, why don't you create a channel to express your viewpoint about React and JavaScript and all that. And I was thinking, how can I do that interactive? And I wanted to combine two interesting concepts. First of all, how about let's learn React together? Let me tell you how my story of a 10-year mobile developer trying to learn React, we can learn React together. Second of all, how about we do it interactively? How about we take a challenge? And how about the challenge of creating a free online digital marketing tool, free for all, open source, that can help you spread your message, that can help us easily and tangentially fight the cancel culture, the toxic cancel culture that has spread around the world, and protect the idea of freedom of speech and freedom of sharing your content, sharing your blog, sharing the link to a video, sharing your ideas mainly. And this tool will be, like I said, online, 100% free for all. And after the MVP is up, which I'm expecting in about 10 episodes, I'm gonna create a GitHub repository, public one, and everybody can target a PR on it, and I will review it, and we will easily grow this free for all tool. And think about it, we are gonna learn together React because all this will be created in React. So let's start with the simple basic steps. So if you go to their main website, React.js, from javascript.org, typically you'll see all the information you'll need to create a new React app. Get into the tutorial, the guidelines, how to get to create your folder, how to initialize the React application, how to get into that, and then how to start it with npm start command. Spoiler alert. So practically they offer you documentation, they offer you tutorials, they explain practically very basic steps, how you can actually create a component, how you can attach handlers to it, how you can resolve the interaction between different components. So it's pretty useful. It's a pretty cool website that gives you good information how to start. Starting from the assumption that practically one would have a little bit of knowledge in programming, probably a starting point, probably some university courses or some trainings. This website offers you links to tutorials that helps you keep a good pace up with React, and it gets you familiarized with React concepts and how exactly they are used. But enough about that. Let's just go ahead, start the terminal, create a folder of the project, you name it how you want your project to be called, and go right into it, type the command for creating the project. Yeah, this can take you several minutes, so practically while it is installing all the React dependencies and libraries and all the modules that it needs for your React app, you can search for an IDE, an integrated development environment tool. I practically use for React Visual Studio, but you can go along with any tool you consider best for your own. I think this one is simple enough and straightforward, and it gets the job done. But if you prefer other tool, just go for it. It is not about having a tool that needs to compile, because this is a React project. Practically it's just a code editing tool. So what it can be helpful is practically to give you access to the terminal, and this already does. The Visual Studio has a terminal component that you can run directly the npm start. From that, once you finalize the code update, it practically runs the project. So no further introductions, let's go directly to the fun part. Let's start our little project. So like I said before, let's create a tool to share our message, to share a certain link, a certain video post, a certain content, on discussions of different. How I'm imagining this is to be a tool where you can practically choose the channel where you want to share it and just share it on top conversations. So I went ahead, you gotta do like a components folder, and I'm imagining we're gonna have like an input component where we're gonna have like a text component and which is practically defined in JavaScript as input and like an action button. So what you see here is I'm adding some stuff I've done on a previous small tutorial. So one thing you have to understand is that each component has the render method where practically it returns the way it is displayed with this, as you see here, different components like an input, like a button, and how it displays as a UI, but also it calls the handlers and the business logic that you can define as separate methods within this component. So practically the return of the render returns you the entire component state, how it looks with the UI. As you can see here, like I'm defining the action button and the input text area, because I'm imagining we're gonna have this input component that will be used, like I said, for the content you're gonna share and both for the search of channels where you want to share in different conversations, and then you have to adapt this button to be a general used component and customizable for different situations. So practically buttons business logic will be binded in the future from a parameter. We'll see how we're gonna do that, but until then we're just gonna define the state for this component. You have to understand that as you see in Swift or Android, where you have like properties on a certain class, here you have the state where it keeps you those properties, and we're gonna use that based on our business logic. So for example, here we have the change handler, which will be called every time the user types a character in the input text area, and this input component will always save the last input string in its own state. Yeah, it's that simple. So if you want to save a certain value, you practically call the method setState, exactly how we did here for this component, and you treat it as a dictionary, you know, with key and value. That's simple. But now let's talk a little bit of the dark side of the moon. Let's see how we can make this UI beautiful by playing dirty. Yeah, you see what I did there? I'm talking about CSS. Something that everyone thinks is a necessary evil, and trust me when I say everybody hates. I talk with a lot of experienced React and JavaScript developers. No one likes CSS. It's this ugly guy that no one wants to hang out with, but very powerful in terms of animations and do a lot of stuff. And the great things is that there are libraries that help you handle your CSS files and your CSS elements and definitions and all that. We're not gonna use any libraries for that. We're gonna do it manually so that I can show you the basic concept. So we're gonna start with CSS pretty slow. We're gonna go from setting up several attributes like color, text, font, text, white, dimensions like white in terms of percentage. You can also do it fixed size and so on. So while I was ranting about CSS, you practically saw I was creating a new header component which will practically sustain the title, and we're just creating the CSS file for the title attributes and all that, and the dimensions and the font size, and practically all what you need, a nice displayed text. And we're just gonna put this dummy title now, the default text that we're gonna change in the future based on your comments, based on whatever you want. Let's not forget that this is our project. We will learn React together and we will build this tool together. And what I'm doing right now is practically use the components we have created, and I use them exactly as you see here. I'm inserting them in the main app.js file and simply displaying them how I want them to display. As you can see right now, the input components are blank. They are not taking any parameters or properties. We're gonna set all that together. The business logic will grow. Until then, let's just run npm start command and see what we have done here. And wait for it. And voila, we got our first React error. So as you can see from the error description, I have misspelled input string and the text action handler, changed the naming to action handler, and made sure the property of input string is used correctly, and let's try it again. npm start for the win, baby. And we got another error. Oh no, there it is. There it is. The header with very unoriginal startup sharing title and the two input components, with the input text field and the action buttons for each one. I really don't like the title, it's a little bit off and aligned to the left, but we're gonna fix that in an upcoming episode. And that was it for today. I hope you enjoyed the episode, or let's call it the pilot of the series. Please don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for the next episode where we will continue our adventure in React, and of course we will continue to build up our project. Like I said, I hope in about 10 episodes we will have an MVP. Until then, please subscribe, like, and leave your thoughts into the comments. Have a great one.